Hi guys, welcome back. This will be the next video on how to actually set up your two AC300s in split phase mode. I figure I'm just going to continue to do this POV type of style of shooting so that you guys can actually see the menus and see more what's important on the screen. So you can either utilize the Y adapter if you created your own, or if you were able to finally get a hold of the official Bluetti split-phase AC charging cable, which is actually what I have on here. So this is my master unit. I have one side of their AC charging cable. This is the official one. It's exactly like mine. It just goes this way. It actually connects to a Y adapter, which is actually right here, I'm sorry. And then the other side comes over here to my slave. So these two join into this L14 plug, which then goes into my L14 receptacle. Now for my permanent setup, this is just an adapter that goes up to a RV outlet. This is actually a 50 amp RV outlet. The reason why I'm doing a 50 amp is because I have intent to actually upgrade my AC300s to AC500s to get 50 amps worth of service, because my transfer switch is actually a 50 amp. So I'm actually a little bit underpowered right now. I would like to get up to the 50 amp plus. I enjoy testing these things and I'd like to test the new ones. So part of my setup here, this RV outlet is actually controlled by this service switch right here, which is just a small miniature breaker box. I did this because I want to be able to shut off the power locally without having to run outside. And then I'm also able to shut off just the master if I want to, or just the slave if I want to, or shut off them both. At the actual service panel or sub panel, I actually do have these set as a common trip. So this comes down once again to this L14. This Y adapts to my master and to my slave. So let's go ahead and check the status here. This master here is actually fully charged, okay? So you can see no solar's coming in, no grids coming in, nothing's coming in right now. If I go over to my slave, okay, this one's about 78 charged and nothing coming in and nothing going out. Now, the reason why these are imbalanced right now is I've actually been utilizing these to run my house for the last several days. I've been testing some of these T500s, and these T500s actually brought this one up to 100%. And then this one, I actually did experience an issue, but I did figure out the workaround, or not workaround. I figured out how to solve it and then get working again. So that, once again, will be another video. So let's go ahead and turn on the grid power and show you what's going on here. So I'm going to come up to my breakers here and I'm going to turn them on. Okay. And we're going to go down to the master here, and you can see it's obviously sensing grid, but it's obviously not pulling anything because the batteries are fully charged at this point. If I come over here to my slave, you can see that it is pulling about 3,000 watts, which is its limit. Even though this up here is a 30 amp service, the system will only pull 25 amps, which is 3,000 watts. So each one of these are in single unit mode or single phase mode right now. The other, the pieces that you need in order to get this working is the AC part, which we already have connected. We already know power is going to both of them. But you also need to hook up your communication cable. This is required. So it's going to go into the bottom port. So top port's your AC port. Middle port is your, let me see if I can pull this back a little bit, is where your DC, your solar panels come in. And then the way bottom one here is your communication port. This is the most critical piece, and the piece that, you know, I was almost tempted to make it, but thankfully I was able to finally get a hold of it. And then the other side of the communication cable is right here. So what this does is it actually ties these two AC300s together, and it allows them to communicate so that they can create their own split phase, so that you get let's say a negative 120 here, positive 120 here, and between the two differences of those is your 240 volts. Okay, without that communication cable, there is a trick to get it to work, but I'm not necessarily going to go into that because let's not screw around with this stuff today. Let's just go ahead and get it working on how it's supposed to. After the communication cable, you need your fusion box. Fusion box is also not required. It does have some built-in intelligence into it. It does have some interesting grounding that I did find. We'll talk about that on a different video as well too. But in a sense, you can actually do a Y adapter from here to a Y adapter to here to merge the two and create your own 240 volt outlet. But for today's purposes, we're just going to use the fusion. So let's go ahead and set this up. So you can see on my fusion, I have an L14 coming out. This is actually going to snake up, go all the way around, and go way up there to my inlet. Okay, this inlet actually leads to my transfer switch. So this goes over here. I'll actually bring you guys over here. And this will actually lead to my transfer switch. So it actually comes in up there. It goes in through this source switch first. I won't talk about this right now. And then it leads the power to here. So I have my utility power, which is what I'm currently running on right now. And then my generator power, which can either be my gas or my solar. Okay, so let's go back over here. Now, one last thing I'll just go ahead and mention real quick. These yellow cables you're seeing are just extension cords. I just found that the fusion cables were a little short. And that only that when they're not a locking plug. So too much tension pulling on here and it wants to fall out. I just found that these guys sit a lot better. And honestly, I like the handle too to be able to disconnect them. So let's get the split phase working. You can see my fusion box. Up at the top of the fusion box, about right here, are two green lights. There's one there, there's one there. Obviously, they're not on. That's part of the intelligence of the fusion box. If it does not detect electricity coming from one AC300 and then from the other AC300, and when it compares the two, if they're not 240 volts difference, this fusion box will not turn on. Okay, so that is one of the intelligent things that it does. But let's get this set up. So in order to set up the split phase, go to your menu, go to settings, go to next, and then you can see where it says machine type. Right now I'm on single phase, okay? If I go to single phase, you can see I can select single phase again, which is what I'm already in, or I can do split phase. On this slave, I'll have to do the same thing. Go to settings, go next, go to machine type, click on where it says single phase, and then I have my two options here. Now, normally you'll think, okay, well, great, I can just go split phase right now and choose my option, and I can go split phase, I can go master. Well, it's not gonna work, okay? You can hear my machines are alarming right now. They're not very happy with me, okay? So you see it says split single phase. Okay, so basically what's happening right now, and then the reason why I had this set to 100% and I had this guy set to 82% is this is an interesting bug I've noticed, but it's also something you've got to be aware of, okay? If you're pulling in power or you're sending out power, you cannot enable split phase mode, okay? You've got to disable inbound and outbound. The reason why these two started to flip out is this guy was pulling wattage, so he's not going to let me go into split phase. So if I come here, it still says single phase, okay? This guy was not pulling anything because the battery is fully charged, but if I go to settings here, it's in split phase. So the reason why I was getting an alarm is this one is in split phase. This master unit is expecting the slave to be in split phase, and it's communicating through that communication cable, but this one couldn't switch over because it's actively pulling power, okay? So what we need to do in order to fix this, or to officially go into split phase, is turn off the incoming power. And if I had outbound power, turn this off too, okay? So make sure this is off. So what we're first going to do is we're going to go up to my shut-off switch, and we're going to shut it off. And sometimes you'll hear the AC300s complain for a second after they've lost power. That'll go away after a minute, okay? So you can see right now I'm not pulling any wattage, okay? I'll go over here, I'm not pulling any wattage, okay? So this is basically saying it can't communicate with the slave, okay? So you'll say, it says phase integration error, communication error. What that's simply saying is that these two units are trying to set up the phases between them and it can't do it. It's saying there's a miscommunication between the two. Well, it's because this guy's this guy's already set into split phase, and then this guy is set to single phase. So let's go ahead and get this guy real quick out of split phase. So we're gonna clear our errors real quick. It's gonna probably still continue to complain. And we're gonna go to single phase, okay? And let's go confirm it is. So it's set to single phase, okay? So you can see the alarm's cleared. We're gonna come over here. This guy still shows his alarm. We're gonna go over to here, and it's still set to single phase, so we know we can probably clear this, okay? So we're gonna clear that error. Okay, so now we have no error. So now that we're not pulling any incoming wattage and the outbound AC is turned off, okay? So nothing can be coming in and nothing can be going out. This is only the first time you set up split phase. If the system shuts down and comes back online, it's going to remember that it was in split phase and it's automatically going to sync the two machines together, okay? So now that we have this off, and once again, we have these off, we can now set up split phase. So we're going to go to settings, we're going to go to next, we're going to go to machine type, select the single phase so that we can get our two options. We're going to hold this menu here for a second so that we can get over here and do this one too. Settings, next, machine type, single phase. Now we have our two options here. So kind of do the two machines quickly, because as soon as you set your master, it's immediately going to try to communicate with your slave, and when it can't, because this one hasn't switched over yet, they're going to start alarming. Not the world's biggest deal. The alarms will go away, or you can just clear them. But let's go ahead and go over to split phase. It automatically defaults to master. You can hear it's complaining. We're going to come over to the slave, go split phase. It's set to slave. That's fine. We're going to get out of that. You can see it says now split phase. We're going to come out of this one and we're going to get out of that. And you can also see it says split phase. You can also hear there are no alarms. Okay. So let's go back home. Okay. We are now running in split phase. However, we're not sending power to the fusion. Okay. So the fusion box actually has no power yet. Okay. So in order to do so, you need to turn on your outbound power. Now, this is different as well. When you set up the split phase, you call this guy your master and you call this one your slave. It literally is that. The master now controls the slave. Anything you do here will affect your slave. That means if I go ahead and, well, let's do it this way. If I go over to the slave and I try to turn on outbound power, nothing's going to happen. The slave has no rights to tell its master what to do. So you have to go to the master and turn on outbound power. You just saw that one come on. It's now going to communicate over here, and it takes a second. Okay, and now you just saw the other one come on. Okay, so the slave is on, and the master is on. Now if I go down to my fusion, you can see over here, I have two green lights, one here, one here. This one is basically saying that this, sorry, let me get this so you can see it. This one is now saying that this line is activated or powered by my master. And then this one over here is powered by my slave. This outlet right here is merging those two lines together to provide my 240 volts all the way up to my inlet. And then if I go over to my transfer switch, this is not going to show anything yet because I've got to switch over to solar. Okay. And then now you can see that my generator power is available. Now, the way a transfer switch that I have, I press one button here and all 16 circuits immediately flip over to the solar. I'm actually not going to do that. The reason why I'm not going to do that is there's a known issue with grid charging right now. So I have not been using grid charging in split phase mode. There is a issue with surge loads. And what do I mean by surge loads? Well, this right here, my freezers, if I plug them in for the first time, let's say they were shut off for 30 minutes or unplugged for 30 minutes and I plug them in, they're going to do a surge of electricity to fire on, and then they'll go down to the running wattage. That surge of electricity, normally these two devices should be able to handle that with no problem, and they do. They do handle it with no problem when they're running under battery or solar only. As soon as they're plugged into that AC grid for charging, for some apparent reason, these two cannot handle it. So I've been communicating with Bluetti support. We've been going back and forth with some firmwares. We've made some progress. Some of that has been fixed. So I am running a version on my two units that nobody has right now. And I tested some other firmware versions that did not work, so we actually reverted back. So hopefully they get those fixed. So what am I doing right now to get AC power is these T500s. And the T500s, instead of providing power, let me sit down a second, directly to the AC300 from my wall outlet, going in through this port right here, these T500s also can plug into that wall outlet, and instead of providing the power here, they go directly into my batteries. So I bypass the AC300s and directly start charging my B300s with 500 watts per T500. So that's been my workaround right now. I just have these on a smart switch, a smart outlet where I can control when they come on, when they go off. Primarily, they come on in the middle of the night when I'm not producing any solar, so that I can subsidize my usage and not drain my batteries completely. And then I can shut them off during the day, or through my phone, I can turn them on if I have a high usage. Now, I've been running in that model for several days, no issues. So when I talk about that this freezer has a surge coming on for the first time, if these two units are running under battery power, running through the T500s to get AC charge, I can start this one, I can start this one. I have two other ones down here, so I have four of these. I have a fifth one upstairs. I have a refrigerator. I have a washing machine. I have a sump pump. I have a furnace blower. I can run all those things at the exact same time, and these things will handle it. So I don't want to necessarily, when I bring up the issues, tell you guys that these things are horrible. Obviously, there's some things that need to be resolved, but I have been pretty impressed with them. Actually, the funny thing is, right before I was about to record this, I had to switch over back to this plug so I could show you guys how the setup was with the grid charging into the AC300s, and this one threw an error that I've never seen before. It took me about 10-15 minutes to figure out how to get out of that error. So we'll add that one to the list of something else to go ahead and show you guys how to get past. But please let me know if you have any questions. I'm not going to transfer my power over from my house onto these right now, because I clearly know that these two will reset because they just can't handle the load while plugged into there. So if you guys actually want to give me a moment, I will reconfigure this. I'll do it off screen, and then I'll come back and show you what these things can do. So give me a moment. All right, guys, so we're back. So magically everything's been changed. So let me show you basically what I just did real quick. So this L14 outlet has been changed. I'm sorry, what's plugged into it's been changed. I just have a another Y adapter that goes to two 15-amp plugs. They're running these this power strip. I actually have another one down there. So one thing I really don't like about these AC300s, there's so much wires that it's actually kind of frustrating after a while to manage them. I'm not dealing with making anything look pretty right now because I'm constantly changing and modifying things. So bear with me on that. Okay, so one of these power strips has two smart outlets on here that I can create a schedule, a program on it that says when to turn on and off the T500s. That's what these are. So T500s are right here. And then the T500s just will run down and they will plug into the side here. Let me see if I can get this to stretch. It's not going to stretch. Here's that. All right, hold on a second. I had to bring these up last time like this to get them to stretch. Oh, you know what? This is my fault. Bear with me, guys. I just realized I had looped this through, and it cannot do that. Cords are not long enough. Hopefully you guys get good content from, good information from what I provide you, because sometimes I feel like the video quality just sucks. But all right, so you have a DC adapter here that's going to go into the bottom of your B300. That's going to plug in, and then, so I'm actually just going to plug in one right now, and I'll show you why here in a second, because I can plug in the second one on the other B300 here. But I will actually show you that I can actually charge both of them off of one. Obviously, I'm only going to be getting 500 watts out of this, but you know what? Is what it is. So this is actually already turned on, which I already know because my smart switches are already on. Hopefully these are those smart switches for up here. Woohoo, yes, okay. So these two just came on. I think this is the only one that's plugged in. Okay, so you can see this one immediately figured it out. This one's not actually connected to anything. So you can see right there, it's not connected to anything. So obviously that's why it's green. It's saying, hey, whatever I'm connected to is fully charged. Well, it's not connected to anything. This guy's red because he actually senses that the batteries are not charged, and it's going to start sending power. So that's coming down through here. Once again, going off to the bottom there. And we are going to throw this back here. This may take a little more time than necessary, but if I look at my two batteries here, which if you want to ever see that, go to the back. From the home menu, click on the percentage symbol right here. If you have more than one battery, it will show you all your batteries. So right now, first battery of mine is at 85% charge. The other one is 81% charge. I honestly don't know which one's which on here, but all I can tell you is that they're both going to start going up. Okay. Now, since I'm only pushing 500 watts, it's not going to go up quickly. This is really just subsidizing whatever is going to be taken from this this unit. So let's go ahead and go back. So just to recap real quick, just to make sure everybody understands, we're running split phase. Master, right before it was at 100%. Still at 100%, okay. Slave's at 83%. Fusion is on, okay. We're in split phase mode. You can see that by the two green lights on there, okay. And obviously the AC outbound is turned on. So one thing with the T500s, you're not going to show any wattage coming in, okay? The AC300 knows nothing about that. So that's the only down part of this, but it's better than nothing right now. I'm happy to get some AC power. So what we're going to actually go do is piss off my family. We're going to go switch over to the solar generators. Okay. So the way my transfer switch works is utility's not on because it's simply saying, hey, you're already connected to the utility. The light for generator power comes on because it's saying, hey, I sense that there's available power here. You can switch over. Now, typically on a generator, when you flip over to it, you shut off all your circuits and you turn them on one by one by one, usually larger loads first. Yes and no. Would you do that with these guys? Well, they can instantaneously handle the load. They don't need to spin up an engine like a generator would. That's usually why you would click on one by one. So I usually I have monitoring. That's what this thing is. Inside of here, I'm monitoring all of the electrical usage in here. So I usually will just open up my app on my phone and say, okay, well, I'm using let's say 1,000 watts, 2,000 watts of electricity. I know those things can handle it, no problem. I'll just flip everything over. Right now, I'm just going to flip everything over. And so what we're going to flip over are sump pumps, my monitoring software, kitchen lights, kitchen fridge, laundry room, which includes a washing machine, which obviously is not running, a stand-up freezer, my furnace, which is also my air handler, my family room, which includes fireplace, electronics. I have master bedroom, secondary bedroom. Sorry for the writing, I'm changing things, so I gotta still change this. Master bath, dishwasher, disposal, basement electronics, my kitchen, which includes my microwave and other appliances, and then the 4 freezers that are downstairs. Now, here's the number one reason why I would not shut off this breaker and I would just flip it over. I already know that if they're already running and they're in their running watts, well, that's low. Probably I'm using 200 watts right now on this line. Why would I shut this down to have 4 freezers come firing on at full surge wattage? I would rather it just utilize the 200 watts. It's a beautiful thing I love about the Generac. Okay, so right now you can see that it's saying I already have utility power. Okay, so now if I go this way, I'm going to flip over to my generator. Okay, everything's still running. Let's go take a look. So it's that quick. Now, granted, some of my sensitive electronics, like the UPS is back there, they're aware of the switch, but that's why I have those type of UPSs on there so that they can handle that switch. But everything else is running. So let's take a look. So what's running right now, my master? So I have 486 watts worth of load coming from my transfer switch over to my master. And then let's see what the slave is doing. Slave is currently pulling about, let's say 300 watts. So nothing major. So right now with this guy, because he's pulling 300 watts and I'm pushing 500 watts with this, obviously about 200 watts from those T500s are actually making it back to the battery. So this is great, like I said, during the middle of the night, if I'm not pulling any solar, these allow me to at least bring in some AC power because grid charging is not officially working yet for these AC300s. And then right now, I pretty much would be doing 25 watts to this guy. So right now, I do not have these T500s turned on, but I did want to show you that everything's running. So I'll do another video later, since this one's gotten kind of long, that shows you everything running in my house. Furnace, washing machine, 5 freezers, garbage disposal. I forgot I even have over here a sump pump that's on here too, and that's actually a pretty high surge. One of the things I do on some of my higher appliances, like my sump pump and garbage disposal, is I install a soft starter. And what this does is, instead of allowing the motor down there to pull a couple of thousand watts to start, this only allows it to start trickling a small amount of wattage to that pump until it's enough to turn it on. I do the same thing for all my freezers too. They're on soft starts, just because if I ever have a power outage, I don't want everything firing on at once and pulling all this power. But guys, I think that's about it for right now, so please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.